SREB Powerful Literacy Practices includes 6 major indicators. This video will focus on one of those indicators, integrating literacy strategies to support learning.
Well, it'd either be about the way it affects the environment, or just
I think that's probably our biggest thing, because it was talking about resources and how.
My classroom is very student-centered, and my students enjoy learning from each other. So I look for literacy strategies that will require a student to not only think personally about certain things, but they kind of learn from the thought process of their peers. I think literacy strategies, they kind of set the basis for how well a student is going to comprehend the content that's being taught.
The teacher sets a purpose and models a variety of needs-based strategies, leading to an increase of independence, where learners can apply self-selected strategies to learn content and complete the literacy-based assignment.
Now we've all kind of come together, and now we are organizing our evidence in order to, one, for efficiency, right? We don't want to kind of flip through all of that stuff, right? We want to have everything organized so that when we start writing our ADI report, our argument-driven inquiry, that we have all the information exactly where we need it, okay? So, causes and effects. Who can give me one effect from their graphic organizer? Who can give me one effect from their graphic organizer? Go ahead, Marlon.
Cause and effect was just effect.
Just effect.
Because they were alike, this made them come together.
Okay, so because what was alike?
Because.
Okay. Because the magnets were alike. They did what?
This made them come together.
The magnets were alike?
Unalike.
Unalike, I'm sorry. Okay, so because the magnets were unalike, they came together. Okay, so that was an observation that you made, that you saw what was happening. Okay, now in the why did it happen, you use your textual evidence from that B column. Okay, so Marlon, can you give me your textual evidence to support that?
When I read paragraph 2, I saw that if the magnets were unlike, they will attract to each other. The north pole is like the positive and the south pole is like the negative.
Okay, so if magnet poles are unalike, they attract each other. Okay, so we have our cause and we have our effect. Okay, if it's easier for you to work from cause to effect rather than from effect to cause, that's fine. Okay, it's sometimes easier for me to think about, okay, what happened and then why did it happen, rather than thinking why did it happen and then what happened. Does that make sense? Everyone understand that? I know the arrow is probably confusing, but I think it's easier to kind of think a little bit backwards. Okay? So I know you've got a front and a back to that, okay? Go through as many of those as you can, at least 2 per investigation. Okay? All right, go ahead and keep working.
The effect was the filling stood up and spread it out. The cause, the magnetic forces of the magnet act on the iron filings and align them along the invisible magnetic field lines.
We should do one cause and effect when we did both. One magnet in the bottom, one in the top. Remember?
Yeah.
Put one magnet on the top and the bottom of the pressure dish.
The Petri dish.
Yeah. Some of the iron film went on top and some attracts to the bottom.
Yeah. What do you think, Aaron?
I think we should just like pretty much just put on the write down the iron filings a line along the visible magnetic field line when we use one magnet as a cause, and then put the effect of when we're talking about in the second column.
Miss Lehman, when we do we have to use textual evidence for this? Because like
We mostly went through like
for some of them like it didn't.
Okay, but you would use, what would be your evidence for that then?
Your data table.
Right.
data table, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Students apply literacy strategies individually, in pairs, or groups to synthesize and analyze information from texts to complete a literacy-based assignment.
Once you guys develop your claim, you're going to list all of your evidence to support your claim. What do you think you find in the evidence section? A lot of data. Okay, so you're going to reflect back in that article that you annotated and find data to support the claim that you guys proposed in reference to the guided question. Okay, and last but not least, you're going to have to provide justification for your evidence. Once your group has established your claim, found your evidence, and justified your evidence, I need someone from the group to take a picture and post it on Edmodo.
Yeah, right now.
So we're gonna tie in
Yeah.
the birth rates and stuff.
Well, right now I'm looking at the Texas thing, and I'm using this because
19 times larger, the
yeah,
population.
even though it can all fit into Texas, they still have to use external resources from other places.
You guys talk about how that statement justifies your claim. How is that evidence to justify your claim? Talk about that.
But like I said, the more resources you take from the earth, the less earth you have to support you. And the way that the earth is rapidly populating, you consume all of our resources, and then we're all gonna die because there's not gonna be an earth to hold us
It's
anymore.
just taking up space.
And like you said, like the more energy we use, like the more problems like happen in the climate, and that's like also affecting us.
Like it said, what does it say? It says United States is the fastest growing.
Okay, boys and girls, once again, when your group has formed your scientific arguments, you've stated your claim, you have your evidence, you have your justification. I need someone from your group to get your cellular device. You're going to take a picture of it, and I need you to post it in Edmodo, okay? Make sure you use as a subject your group's color. So if you're yellow, you'll say yellow group and attach the photo. That way you'll have it for future reference when you get ready to do your final writing product. All right, questions? Any questions? All right, continue working.
You need me to hold it up?
Remember, your justifications are reasons as to why you used the evidence that you used. Okay, so you'll be able to explain that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome.
I need to get one more. I need one more about. I wish I could just.
I mean, if you're talking about media interference, you can talk about when they was talking about
The women?
the women or the luxurious lifestyles, how that also.
I'm going to pick a quote and I'm going to elaborate on that because a lot of them. Okay, see, in 1960, we're using.
Students apply literacy strategies in new situations to synthesize, analyze, and evaluate complex texts to create authentic responses.
So your sample ADI report looks like this, okay? It's got 3 sections, all right? And what we're going to do is look over each section, and we're going to give a short description from the sample, but we're also going to say what step of these significant elements it matches to. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at section 1 where it says, what were they trying to do and why? Okay, take a moment with your partner and read that aloud, please. Read that aloud with your partner.
Offsprings can have any number of genetic abnormalities. Our goal in this experiment is to learn what can happen if meiosis goes wrong. In this experiment, our group investigated the research question, how do two normal parents produce a child with Cry-Du-Chat syndrome, child 1, and a child with Down syndrome, child 2?
Okay, guys, let me have your eyes and ears, please. Eyes and ears. So you have read over section 1, correct? Okay, so section 1, what were they trying to do and why? So give me a little description of what they were trying to do. So the second part to this, everybody has their preparing for the task part, right? Where we analyzed our task, where we went through our vocabulary, and most importantly, where we analyzed our rubric. What part of the rubric did we analyze? What score? A score of what? A score of 3. Okay? A score of 3, because we are at least a 3 in our writing, right? Okay? So what you're going to do, and this is kind of the second part, and I'll let you know when we're switching over to that second part. Okay? You're going to give it a score from the rubric that we analyzed. Okay? Now, if your description of, let's say, for example, the controlling idea, okay, if it is not up to par to a 3, then you would give it below a 3. If it's up to at least a 3, then you give it a 3. Okay? Does that make sense?
They gave out information information that we would learn, like every person is born with 23 pairs of chromosomes and all that. And then
valuable information.
Yeah, they were giving you information before they even told you about what they're experimenting about. Because in the second section, they're like, in this experiment we modeled, and that's why. Yeah. And that's how you know they're gonna start talking about experiments and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So step 1 is
they were giving out information.
So that's what their task is. Okay. And then what was their question?
And then start explaining their goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was their investigation. Because when you write your report, it's going to be set up to where you're going to need to know what section 1 contains and what it should sound like, section 2 and what it should sound like, and then section 3 and what it should sound like.
Answer the questions here and description and number here.
You're not answering the questions. You're using the questions to guide you through what's included in that section.
Oh, okay.
So we're just going to write which step it matches and...
Tell me so you say what were they trying to do and why, and so you tell me that they were trying to determine what happens if meiosis goes wrong. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chromosomal spheres are different colors. So we could easily distinguish between the parents of the offspring. Finally, we conducted a careful review of each karyotype to look for abnormalities. We designed our experiment using a model so we could see visual representation of the process. Okay, so that one's telling what they did, the procedure. So that would be step number 2.
Getting to annotate stuff and read stuff, we get to understand things more. And we get to actually make our own notes on it or put questions in the margins that we can get answered later on in class. It's just easier, and it helps me learn more if I'm getting work that I have to fill out, or if I have to annotate something and get key points out of it.
As emphasis is placed on deeply understanding and implementing the concept of powerful literacy practices, ask yourself the question: to what extent are literacy strategies embedded to support the learning of content and skills in your classroom, your school, and your district?